amazing. We are live now, and welcome, guys, to LinkedIn Pe Charcha episode 10. We'll just wait for a few minutes. I just sent out the notification. Let's wait for a few more people to join in, and it's going to be a super fun, super insightful, and there's no script plan. It's going to be a completely candid conversation, and I'll try to cover majority of the pain points that copywriters, content writers, and content creators have in this space. So let's wait for a minute and then we can start off the conversation. We have 10 people watching right now. Hello, guys. Thanks for joining in. So until then, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce these two legends, as I call them, to all the people as well. So I'm sure you don't need no introduction, but still for that 1% who doesn't know. So Hardik Lashkari is a financial copywriter. He has built a community of 60,000 plus people on LinkedIn. That's a lot of people. And I came across him when I first saw his tax saving guide that he came across with. And it was a huge revolution, I believe, because it saved, according to what reviews I read, it was a life-changing experience for a lot of freelancers out there. So that was the time I was like, whoa, this is something great. So welcome to the show, Hardik. It's really great to have you here.
Thank you so much, Rahul. First of all, you used a word called legend. By any chance, we are not legends. We learn. So I rather like to call myself as learner. So I would prefer that word throughout this particular conversation. But glad to be here
Absolutely.
with you today.
Absolutely, that's your humbleness, definitely. And now then we have Ayushi Sumani. She's an amazing content writer, copywriter, and has built a community of over 1,15,000 people. That's a lot, Ayushi. So congratulations on that. And I've been seeing your content as well. You are active on Instagram as well and LinkedIn as well. So you're doing great there. So welcome to the show. Thank you so much for giving time to this.
Thank you, Rahul, for inviting me. And yes, like Hardik said, legend is a pretty much a big word. So yeah, let's just be learners here.
Learners. Yes, amazing. Even I share the same mindset that learning is what creates legend as a byproduct, or masters or experts as a byproduct. So learning
Definitely.
is the key, definitely. So starting off with the very first pain point, I'd like to go over the content creation space first, and then I'll come to writing space as well. Technicalities of that. So when it comes to content creation, the major pain point is that I'd like to understand that you have a great community, you have huge numbers out there. What is your perspective when a content piece fails to perform? Let's say you get less number of likes or you don't get ideas. What are your struggles? Because we all feel that once we get 60,000, 80,000 followers, a job is done. But I'd like to break that myth today, maybe. So starting with you, Hardik, what's your perspective on that?
See, Rahul, a very good question, and I have two kind of thoughts on it. One, whatever the influencers like, I don't like to call myself an influencer. Also, rather, I like to call myself an impactor. I like to impact people's life. It doesn't matter whether it is a one person or 10 people, thousands of people. I just like to impact people in good sense. But having said so, people say that okay, you should not run behind vanity metrics or these kind of things should not affect you. But the point is, these things definitely affect you. Because after a point in time when you have put so much of effort in creating content, researching it, editing it, making sure that everything is looking right, you actually expect likes and comments out of it. And that is the human nature also. So the first part is yes, for initial few minutes, I definitely like to see my post again and again and see how many people are interacting with my post. What is the engagement like? Is there a positive response among people, or is there a negative response also that I can change? It's definitely there. But after a point in time, it becomes a game where you kind of you have to detach yourself from what you have already posted and focus on the next thing. And that is where I'm a huge believer of a song called मैं पल दो पल का शायर हूँ पल दो पल मेरी कहानी है. That is a song actually I live by, where you have to detach yourself from what you have published, what you have put out so far, and then focus on the next work. Because if it keeps running on your mind, you just cannot shift your focus and bring something else which will be better or which will be more creative than what you have already published. But yes, during the initial few months, that feeling is definitely there. After which I detach myself from it and focus on the next part next whatever I'm writing upon.
Absolutely. That's a great perspective. And I also agree to this point that numbers do matter psychologically at the back of the mind. So let's not ignore that. Let's have that. And also, as you said, very tangible tip, focus on the next piece of content, just start creating content. And there will be a time when you'll be addicted to it. So you just can't stay without it. So thank you so much for your insights there. Ayushi, what are your insights on this? What are the struggles that you, let's say today or yesterday, just faced when it comes to the idea creation implementation phase, if you'd like to share with all of us?
So, what my observation has been is like when you're constantly creating content, you're constantly coming out with ideas. Okay, every time you have a conversation outside work, outside LinkedIn, maybe, or outside your content creation space, maybe sitting with a friend, family, whatever, you find ideas when you're in a conversation or maybe observing something randomly. Your subconsciously, the brain is trained to generate ideas maybe and connect to things which is maybe useful for your community or a message that you wish to give. So that is basically how I get my ideas, and that is what I tell people that okay, yes, initially it is a little hard. You do not get a lot of ideas and you do not know where your community is going to react and where they are not going to react. Okay, but once you're in the churn, you definitely come up with ideas on your own. Okay. Also, when you are creating content, you see, you observe what kind of content is getting traction, what is not getting traction, where there is impact being made, even though there is no engagement. But your community, whoever, as in, even if 5,000 people have seen it, and even if there is just 100 likes, but the post is so strong that it is actually leaving an impact. But then there is another post that went 50,000, 60,000 views and got good 1,000, 2,000 likes, but it is not creating any kind of impact. Okay, so there you get an observation. Now you decide what kind of post you wish to work with. My content creation has always been about connectivity with people, and so I share a lot of stories. And
Right.
secondly, I share a lot of tips or maybe knowledge about how the content writing, copywriting, and freelancing works. So yes, my community, I have built a community mostly of freelancers and copywriters and content writers. So yeah, my audience is able to relate to these things more. So that is what I follow.
Right. So one thing that I get from both of your insights is creating that impact, which I feel
Yeah.
uh, is unfortunately kind of missing as well in a lot of content out there. Because and this is one more point that I'd like your insight. It's a very I find it very interesting that we all have been on LinkedIn for a very long time, right? We have seen two phases. Do you feel? I mean, I personally feel there has been a change of in the value of the content. What's your perspective? Do you see any change starting with you, Ayushi?
Definitely, and do not wish to criticize anyone here. But I have seen this like people who started early in 18, 19. They used to create amazing content. They would genuinely share out good information or good stories and good posts. Today, people are just picking out the same topic and using it and reusing it. Like, not one person, I would see uh, in a single day on the same topic at least 100 posts, which is not making sense.
Right.
Okay, yes, there are a limit of ideas, but you need to get some creativity out of yours. Work on it, experiment maybe, but just do not, people get so redundant, and that is something that I feel is uh, how your quality of work gets down. So yeah.
Right. Absolutely. What's your perspective on this, Hardik? Have you seen a shift, and what do you think? What has caused that shift?
See, Rahul, there are two perspectives to it. One, that I started on LinkedIn, like I started my consistent content creation on LinkedIn back in 2018. So I belong
Right.
to that breed where, even in the comment section, we had to have amazing conversations.
Yeah.
There were various people who used to write actually elephant-sized paragraphs. And when we would scroll through those paragraphs, you would get tons of value, which does not happen anytime now, because now people want to comment on as many posts as possible. And why they're commenting is because they want to get engagement on their post as well. So the shift has happened from knowledge sharing to actually getting that engagement. That's one aspect of it. But while I do not want to criticize any creator over here, the reason being creativity is subjective at the end of the day. And I've always advocated this. You should do whatever comes best to your followers and whatever you want to communicate to your community. So let's say if I want to post something related to taxation also, I have my audience, I know their pain points, and as long as I'm solving their pain points, I do not care what has already been talked about on LinkedIn and what have other people shared. I just have to add value to my audience. Now, the problem over here is are two things. One, that because of consistent content creation and such high quantity of content being created every day on LinkedIn and other platforms also, there has to be some sort of redundancy and replication. We cannot avoid that as creators. Let's be frank about it. But at the same time, what is also happening is people are actually coming up with new ideas also to present the same thoughts, but in a different way. That is creating the massive shift in content creation. So yes, there is definitely a disparity between how creators think and in terms of how people are perceiving it. But at the end of the day, if you just take out the lenses of creators and look it from a consumer point of view, content is definitely getting top notch. I won't say that content has deteriorated a lot. From a consumer point of view, he is getting to see so many observations, so many perceptions at the same place, and that is increasing the game for content consumers also.
Right, absolutely. I completely agree to both your perspectives, and I feel experimentation is the key. Bringing out content in new forms is the key, and um, I mean, if not criticizing anyone, if anyone is happy with their content, that's great. But yeah, we can't also ignore the fact that the level of knowledge has gone down, which is sad to see as a creator who has been creating content for like 2 3 years, as we are belonging to that. So definitely that's there. Now, to all the people who are watching this, if you have any kind of questions, if you're facing any kind of struggles in your content creation journey, or if you are a copywriter, content writer, have some technical questions, feel free to add in the comment box and I'll try to take it up in the end part of this session. Now, once we have covered the content creation part, the second most pain point is money for users, right? If we are putting in efforts, we want money out of it. There's ROI revolving around our head all the time. So would love to understand what was your mindset when it came to monetization through content creation, starting with you, Hardik.
See, for me, Rahul, it has always been about prioritizing client work. Yes, I definitely monetize my content as well, but I've seen this huge shift in perception where creators are actually running behind monetizing their content through masterclasses, ebooks, and all, which is absolutely okay. But in the process, they're actually sacrificing the client work, which should not happen. Yes, you should be clear in your mind that yes, I don't want to just work with clients. Rather, I would like to work with my personal brand and get money that way. If you are there, that's completely okay. But if you just cannot, sacrifice your client work or ignore your client work and just focus on monetizing your own brand and creating something out of that. That has been my perception. So even today, yes, I have monetized my content also in form of launching that ebook or doing some very limited master classes. But even today, I focus more on the client side of the work. That should not get hampered. So yes, even if I don't have to post content on LinkedIn or Twitter someday, that's completely okay. But it should not happen where I'm posting regularly on LinkedIn, but in the process, I'm not actually working for my clients. Because even if I'm building a personal brand also, that would not actually help me in any way. So that's
Right.
my perspective on monetizing your content through your client work vis-a-vis monetizing your content through your personal brand.
Right. And do you think once we reach a stage wherein we have a team to work upon, then we can focus more on that is the time to focus more on your own content?
See, I'm often advocate over here because I very, consistently follow Justin Welsh. And Justin Welsh is one of those people who always advocate that one person business, where even if you have that one person business, you can still monetize your content.
Right.
And if you have a team also, then you also have to manage the client work because many of the business aspects like editing, like client acquisition, finances and all, still come under your supervision. So it's more about first of all, knowing your goals, prioritizing what is important for you, and then delegating or, probably deferring what is not important. So prioritization is the real game over here.
Right, absolutely. Really appreciate the insights there. Now, coming to you, Ayushi, what has been your experience with monetization? What has been your mindset? And do you see any shift in mindset at this stage as compared to when you just started out?
I definitely see a lot of change because when I started out, hosting a masterclass or hosting any kind of workshop was a huge deal because I need to learn that for myself first before I, become an expert and give out advices to people who have just started their careers, which is a huge risk because if I teach something wrong, they are going to keep that in their head for the rest of their careers, which is, I believe, a kind of exploitation. And I am still very skeptical about what I say, what I teach, what I preach people. And coming to monetization, yes, I, of course, who won't want it? But I do very limited sponsor post, that too when it's relevant to my audience, only then. And talking about my services, I do that, of course, but not with a lot of workshops, not with a lot of like marketing my own things. I don't do that. I don't prefer it. And even if I'm doing something like that, I make sure that it is just in the end one or two sentences maximum. That is the most part of my ad. The rest should be a valuable post, which is actually giving out some kind of information or knowledge to people, which is making an impact. So yeah, that has been my idea about it. I'm very
Right,
conscious about
absolutely.
what I am sharing. I do not want to make it a market or ad space. So yeah.
Absolutely. And that's one mistake I see. I was in conversation with Shreya Patar as well. She told the same thing that uh, a lot of freelancers who are just joining the space, who are just starting out, are doing workshops, are hosting master classes at, I mean, you could, but I mean, with the experience speaks for itself. So I think that is where some wrong direction is coming in. Very well said, and definitely hosting a workshop. I also feel it's a very big thing. I mean, you have responsibility of all the people sitting here. So I hope people who are watching this, and some perspective is very clear on that. So now I'd like to shift
Rahul, actually,
to
one thing over here as well, sorry to interrupt you, but that
no
actually
worries.
circles back to what we were discussing about content creation also. The thing is, today it becomes really easier where you say you have to take a masterclass on cold emails. You could probably go on LinkedIn and Twitter, search through all the threads that others have posted, put it in your masterclass, and sell it as a course. But if you yourself have not done any kind of cold emails, if you have not made your hands dirty, you wouldn't know what are the consequences of sending a wrong cold email or sending someone a message which might just piss them off. You don't know it. But if you know that, okay, I have sent an email in the past and things can go south also, you would always give that disclaimer to your audience as well that, hey, while you do it, here is a word of caution. This is what you should take care of. And that is the difference between preaching and between giving actionable content. If you yourself have done that, that will get reflected in your content also, and that will get reflected in your master classes too. And once it happens, once you give actionable tips in your master classes also, that actually compounds. Whereas Ayushi was also saying, even if you don't market your services, even if you don't market your ads, people will come for it because they
Yeah.
have got some value out of it.
Right. Content speaks for itself. So I think that is the
Yes.
most
Exactly.
important selling point for anyone. Now, coming, I'd like to bring attention to the content writing and the copywriting space where you have loads of experience. So let's say if I am, or let's say, what would you say to your younger self who's just starting out on day one based on your experience now that you have had? Starting with you, Hardik, what would be those few tips that you'd like to give the younger Hardik, maybe based on some mistakes maybe you have committed or things you realize that, okay, I could have done it better?
Mm, Go on more dates, meet more girls, and talk to more people. The thing is, if I were to just tell my younger self one thing, I would tell him, just forget about writing, forget about copywriting, try and focus as much as possible on understanding people. What makes them, what keeps them awake at night, what keeps them happy, what makes them sad, when do they cry the most, when are they most cheerful. If you can learn that in writing or in copywriting, you are game for it. So this is the most important thing. And when you talk to more people, not just girls, but when you talk to more and more people, more diversified kind of audience, you get to learn a lot of things and you get those experiences. And as a copywriter, I always believe that a good copywriter always connects to disparate ideas, which have nothing to do. So, for example, uh, recently I wrote a post on selling my text Bible, and I picked something from the legendary that bullfighting in Spain and connected it to what I was selling. Now this is where the entire game happens, where you hear something, And subconsciously it gets into your mind and you start seeing that, okay, this is how I can connect it to my content. Once that happens, no one can stop you, because even if AI comes, even if those GPT-3 tools comes, if you can connect experiences, if you can connect your anecdotes and your stories to what you want to convey to people, no one can replace you. You will be a good copywriter, definitely. So that is what I will definitely tell my younger self.
Right. The art of storytelling and creating that flow, which is very evident to your content. And that's why I believe a lot of people generate that trust as well. That, okay, if I read, let's say, Hardik's content, I'll get some value and in an interesting manner, in a storytelling manner. So I'll be entertained and well. So, perfect example of infotainment. Now, coming to you, Ayushi, what would be some tips
Okay, my tips would
that
be
you'd like
that,
to give your younger self?
yeah, so
Except,
one, that is a must. One should always do that. Of course, it
right,
gives you a lot of content ideas and some good
networking.
time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Networking also. Okay. But yeah. So one thing I would really want to give tips to myself and budding freelancers is that you should always be ready for criticism. Okay. Criticism is not that you're being rejected. You're just sometimes it happens that you might be amazing at what you do and your client is amazing at what they want and what they are doing with themselves, but your dynamics would not match. This does not mean that they are rejecting you, and it does not mean that you're not good enough. It's just that you are not on the same space. And yeah, they might work well with someone else and you might work amazingly well with someone else, but this does not mean it is a setback. Okay, this is one thing that I really want to tell myself and people around me. And second would be understand people, like Hardik said, understand the brain, understand how people think, how they connect with emotions, and use that in your copy. I also make
right.
sure about this that on all of my posts or even in my articles and everything that I write, that if I'm telling a story, which I do, this is my writing style. I always start with stories. And at the
Right.
end, I connect it with the message I really want to give. It would only be 3 lines, 4 lines maximum if the post is long. But in the end, it has to connect, it has to bring value, and it has to be relatable to people. If it is not going to create any kind of sense or impact. And of course, you need to create impact if you're a copywriter. So, yeah.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely right points. And this is one thing that, I mean, I've seen this in the freelancers who are just coming in, that maybe one bad experience is gives them a setback. And with now on LinkedIn, so many achievements being highlighted at one go, you feel like you're going on the wrong track. You're completely,
Definitely.
maybe you're not capable, or you don't have it. And the next option is just quitting freelancing or not doing what you actually like. So
I
that's a very, very
actually
good
shared a
perspective.
post about this today. People share their success stories so much, and I like to keep it like a little clear. Okay, I won't, of course, won't share all my failures, all my rejections, but I try to keep it as real as I can. And I shared today a failure story, and this way, I think that I can help people in way that they see that, okay, no matter how many achievements people have, they also have failures, which is a part of the journey, a part of this freelancing world. So yeah, setbacks happen, but do not take it as a permanent one. Take a day or two off, and but keep working on it. So yeah.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So that these were some great insights, and now we have come to the end part of this section, and I have a fun rapid fire round through which I'd aim to take out some insights as well, some technical insights and some mindset insights. So I'll be giving you two options one by one. To you, Hardik, and to you, Ayushi. You just have to say whatever comes to your mind, whatever you want to choose, and you can give an explanation that why did you go for it or what thought came in your mind. So starting with you, Hardik, what would you choose if you are a freelancer who's just come in? You're getting 10 small clients. Would you take them or would you wait for that one big client?
I would take 10 small clients any day.
Right.
And the whole reason is I started with 50 paisa per word. Like I was actually getting 50 paisa per word when I started. Of course, my first job, my first ever writing assignment, I got 50 rupees for a 1,000 word article, which means 5 paisa. So whatever people say online that wait for that one client or you should just run behind money. No, you have to get your hands dirty and then only you learn how things happen. So I would anyway go for 10 small clients rather than waiting for one big client altogether.
Right, absolutely. I agree to that. Even I, when I started, I used to do entire marketing in 5,000 rupees per month. I mean, that is the scale you start, and then eventually, those are the clients basically that teach you your adds on to your portfolio, and then that is your journey as a freelancer. So definitely. Now the question to you, Ayushi, is: let's say if there is a client who's offering you 1 crore per month, but you know that client is going to hamper your mental peace. What would be your decision?
Yeah, see, 1 crore is a huge amount, of course. Uh, Maybe if that is the real amount, I would take them. But I do not suggest this. Of course, hampering your mental health is never ideal. Okay, no matter what amount is. But even if you work for them for a month or two, it is going to leave you in a very bad space, and one day you will be so burnout that you will stop working completely. So it is not ideal to get with if you can see the red flags in the beginning. I would always suggest don't go for it. Wait, you will get better clients. There are hundreds and millions of actually amazing clients out there, so wait for them. And yeah, do not throw yourself down that path. I've
Right.
been there. I have worked with such clients. I have literally called it off in a minute after working with them for good 5 6 months because I was so burnout. So yeah.
Absolutely. And now we also have a question from Sandeep. I think we have covered it as well. So, Sandeep, you can watch this recording. In the initial part, we had talked about what kind of content works the best. So, basically, storytelling, creating an impact, and connecting with your audience. And how to find is, I think, very subjective, that you'll have to experiment, as we discussed, and find your own niche and your own voice. And that's how you'll build upon that. Now, coming to you, Hardik, based on your experience in content creation, do you think hashtags work? Have you used hashtags on LinkedIn? What is your experience there, or do you think it's just doesn't matter?
Uh, See, it is again very subjective what you have asked, Rahul. The point is, I have always believed that whatever is preached online are people's experiences. So some might say that yes, hashtags definitely work, whereas I'm of the opinion that yes, I've experimented with the hashtags in the past. Right now, I don't use any hashtag, even my branded hashtag also. But again, tomorrow if I feel that okay, let me check with hashtags, let me experiment with hashtags, I may start again doing that. So whatever you see online are experiences, not laws that have to be followed strictly. Because if that was the case, Tuesday 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. is the best time to post on LinkedIn. So if
Right,
that happens, then no one will get that engagement. So
right.
that's what I feel about hashtags.
Absolutely. And that connects to my next question, that is for Ayushi as well, that what time has worked for you the best based on your content?
9 a.m. dot 9 a.m. If I'm posting something on 9 a.m., maybe it's some belief I have, but yeah, if I'm posting something dot at 9 a.m., it works. So yeah.
Right. And I also feel the same. That's the time when a lot of users kind of open
Yeah, we
LinkedIn
are
to work.
mostly all working. So 9 a.m. is the time like you sit on to work, you open your LinkedIn, scroll through it for 15 20 minutes, and then go to your work. So I think
Right.
that is the best time.
Absolutely. Now, coming to the last question to both of you, starting with you, Hardik, that which personal brand do you think you would like to hijack if given an opportunity?
Which personal brand I would like to hijack? That's a very interesting question. Let me be biased over here. I know. People watching me right now will be like, "Ki pata tha." He'll answer that question only. MS Dhoni, hands down. Because the point is, see, Rahul, I always believe this that you are a personal brand, not a clown who can make everyone happy. We all have, haters. We all have people who criticize us, and you have to make peace with it. And the way MS Dhoni makes with peace with his personal brand and with people around him, that is definitely I would like to acquire because whatever people say, you don't care about it because you know what your ability is, you know what you are capable of, and that only actually takes you the long way. So MS
Right.
Dhoni will be my answer.
Absolutely. MS Dhoni is my favorite cricketer too, so I definitely relate to that. Now, coming to you, Ayushi, which personal brand would you like to hijack?
Honestly, I do not want to hijack anyone's. I want to make my personal brand that big that
Hijackable.
people would want my personal brand to be hijacked. So yeah.
Right. Absolutely, that's great. And I mean, this session, I would say, was by far one of the best sessions that I've ever had because the insights were tangible, and second, had a lot of fun as well. So thank you so much, both of you. It was a pleasure talking to both of you, and I know your time is very, very valuable. So thank you so much for joining.
Thank
Thank
you
you for
so much, Rahul, for
inviting.
inviting us.
Absolutely. And to all the audience who's been watching this, thank you so much for joining. And I hope this clarified a lot of your questions. I'll see you again in the next Charcha. Until then, goodbye. Take care.